need to bet on your strengths and don't give a about what you suck at. You're gonna, way too many people in this room are gonna spend the next 30, 40 years of their lives trying to check the boxes of the things that they're not as good at, and that you're gonna waste a load of time and lose. I highly recommend auditing yourself, or if you have no empathy or EQ or self-awareness, then find somebody in your family or friendship that does and let them tell you who you are. And once you believe that, either for yourself or someone else told you, go directly all chips all into that, because that is the only possible way, in my opinion, watching from the outside, that is, let me rephrase, that is a very highly likely way of over-indexing, because the truth is, if you want to be an anomaly, you've got to act like one. You know, like, and so that's it, that's what I got. So thanks for having me. In 2001, it snowed in New Jersey on December 23rd, which was one of the busiest days of the year. Typically, December 23rd is the busiest day of the year in a liquor store. And a woman called us, we just started shipping, and her case of Beringer White Zinfandel wasn't delivered. First of all, I appreciate the people that know what Beringer White Zin is, good job. The entire case, by the way, 15-pack, the entire 15-pack case cost $45. We're doing about $40,000 an hour in the store. She calls. I find out about it, somehow it was buzzing, because I was on the floor selling. I am the premier salesman on the floor, as you can imagine. I find out about it, and we're debating what to do. She needs it for her Christmas dinner. I grab the case, throw it in my car, and drive to Bergen County to deliver it. It takes me 2.5 hours to complete the whole thing. The woman was 194 years old. We didn't have a lot of lifetime value on the back end there. She looked like Yoda. And the best part was, I delivered it, all pumped with myself, and she said, great, and closed the door. Awesome. Everybody, especially my dad, who was pissed that I left because all the customers that came in asking for me or that I could have sold, everybody was baffled. I can't tell you what the ROI of driving through the snow in my car to deliver a case of $45 pink shit to a woman that looked like Yoda was. But I can tell you this, over the next 2 to 3 years, that story became the foundation of how we treated every single customer. It became our competitive edge. And those are the things that matter to me. I love black and white data. I'm obsessed with it. The day when the nerd beat me, I understood that the nerds beat me. And I respect the living out of data, conversion funnels, all that shit. But I'm telling you right now that there are way too many running businesses today with this, and not enough people running businesses with this. And again, I swear on my life, I am not Mother Teresa, and I'm far from run my business just on this. But I'm telling you right now, the reason I amassed my following, the reason why I continue to retain it, is because my percentage of this far outweighs every in this room. I mean it. That's how I feel, and that's how I try to roll every day. And I promise you, if you are able to figure out how to afford the allocation of this in your business more, your long-term value will be dramatically higher. Your long-term business success will be dramatically higher. Your grandparents, your great-grandparents built businesses based on this. It's how we built the whole thing. We got really lean and mean when we went to the suburbs and big box stores, and all we cared about was dollars, and it's great. And the data matters, and continue to use it, and use this tool and understand it. But I'm asking you one final thing. When you go home, if this talk meant anything, and by the way, I fundamentally believe only 3 of you are gonna act on this talk. I do. Because what I talk about is ridiculously hard and massively frustrating and takes forever. You know, like everything that's good in life. If you do anything because of this keynote, there's only one thing I ask you to do. Because as zenny as I got, I'm a practical here's what I want from you. When you go home, look yourself in the mirror and audit everything you and your business do. I promise you that if you audit from top to bottom of expenses and effort and time and energy and payroll and all that shit, if you audit all of it, even the best of us, even the InBevs, which is the company that bought Budweiser, they built their whole business on like printing on both sides of the paper and all that horse shit. Even the most efficient ones of us are doing 20% dumb shit. If you take that 8%, that 13%, that 16% of dumb shit that you're doing, paying that person that's not bringing any cultural value to your business, having that contract that you've just been in and you just renew because you're busy as fuck, whatever the fuck you're doing, if you take any piece of that percentage and you apply it to giving a fuck about your customer, it will be better for your business going forward, because for the first time since we all lived in small towns where your reputation was the complete backbone of how you did business, for the first time, because technology is bringing us back together in a small town, for the first time, being good and caring and following up matters. It matters. How about doing something random act of kindness for a current customer, not the ones that unsubscribed or left? You know how you always do nice shit when they're going? How about while you've got them? Reallocate your thought process, I'm telling you, because the tools that is the umbrella of this event are getting so good, so good. You know what that means? All that shit's about to become a commodity. Emotional EQ is going to dominate business over the next decade, and I implore you to start paying attention. And oh, by the way, I'll leave you with this. You know what the best part is? It feels good. How do you get money to do what you love? You don't, right? I lost a load of money when I started doing what I loved. What you do is you position yourself to succeed. So for example, if you're doing something else and you want to do this thing you love, you do it after hours. You work 9 to 6, you get home, you kiss the dog, and you go to town, right? I mean, you start building your equity and your brand and whatever you're trying to accomplish after hours. Everybody has time. Stop watching Lost. That's a good overheard, right? That was a good overheard. So, you know what I mean? I mean, if you want this, if you want bling bling, if you want to buy the jets, if you want to do work, that's how you get it. I think there's massive confusion around entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship sucks. I mean, it's lonely. It's high risk. I mean, I can't live without it, but it's like a bad boyfriend, right? Or girlfriend, right? There's a ton of bad days being an entrepreneur. Not to mention 98% of entrepreneurial ventures are gonna fail. So there's gonna be a really bad day in your future. You know, hopefully not for you, or any of you. You know, for me, I think this is a very personal question. I think it's how you're wired. I'm so all in entrepreneur, I prefer the pain. I think one of the reasons I love the Jets so much is because they bring me so much pain. You know, I love the climb. To me, the setback is exciting. I love when something goes wrong. It's where I shine the most. But that's not for everybody, right? I mean, it can be very difficult. And when you start affecting your life and your loved ones and all the other things, it can get real nasty. To me, the way I handle things, even in the few rare days when I really struggle, I take a real step back and make pretend that somebody called me and told me that my mother or daughter were killed. And I know that's very dark, and I apologize, but it's really what I do. I literally am able to, at my deepest, most struggling moment within business, take a step back and remind myself that I could make $1 trillion tomorrow on Bitcoin, and if something bad happened to the people I love the most, that it would mean nothing. And it very consistently rewires me very quickly. I just put business in perspective. At the end of the day, you know, it's money. For me, it's not really money, it's my legacy, so I get hurt by it a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, I put it in perspective. It's money. And you know what? Up until I had a daughter, even while I was married, up until when I had Misha 4 years ago, I secretly wanted to lose all my money. I had this weird, twisted, dark fantasy of losing everything just to rise again like a phoenix and remind you I think the thing that is another theme in entrepreneurship is there is way too much fodder brought to the idea. Uber was Magic Cab 3 years earlier. Uber is not an idea. Uber existed. It's called Magic Cab. But the guys that executed it sucked. So they lost. So I think, you know, if there's any level of romance left in this room about your idea, I'd like to suffocate it. Because I think the actual situation is what you actually do with it. What if I told you this was the last Monday morning of your life? What if I told you you die this week? Would you complain about your crap job or that test you don't want to take? I doubt it. You would go much higher level thinking. Well, that's really what it takes. It takes understanding that if you're not pumped right now, if you're begrudging what you're about to do, if you're not looking forward to it, look, I respect practicality. You gotta go through school because your parents want to. You gotta pay your rent. You got student loans, I get it. But please recognize the world we're living in. We're living in a world where there's so much more opportunity. This internet thing created way more opportunity for all of us, way more. I mean, look, you might not even be alive. Like, your mom and dad could have had sex like 3 minutes later and you wouldn't even exist and you're complaining. You could have ended up being a bus, a tree. I just don't get the mentality of being head down sad on a Monday morning. I'm gonna make Monday morning my bitch. I'm gonna make you Saturday Monday morning. That's what I wanna do every morning, and that's what I want from you. Please, take a step back and think about how awesome it actually is. And then recognize that you can attack the world in a totally different way because you were lucky enough to be born during this era. Ability to adjust is the entire game. Like, I'm so proud that I change my mind every day. My dad used to get so pissed when I was building Wine Library. He would always be like, he would say like, 3 months ago you said Ricky was gonna be the best employee. I'm like, I changed my mind. He fire him. Or he's like, you said sparkling wine was important, now you just eliminated it from the key spot. I'm like, I changed my mind. Like, my ability to only be comfortable in massive chaos has been my biggest asset as an entrepreneur. Like, I would never take a note. Like, that scares the piss out of me what these 3 people are doing right now, right? And so, now, that may work for them, and I'm not, like, back to the opening statement, like, you need to do you. Like, plenty of people that make a load more money than me and have won bigger take notes. The key is way too many people are doing, like, here's a good one. You know what really pissed me the off? I'm completely driven by like happiness and like I'm crippled by like chaos. Like, you know, Vaynermedia, which is now 500 people, update your Vaynermedia is like completely dictated by, like, I'm a dictator of HR. Like, all I care about is the atmosphere. All I care about is how people, all I care about is like how people roll. Like, I think I've fired the 4 most talented, smartest people that have worked for me because if you don't know how to play with the other boys and girls, you're out because I suffocate under, you know, conflict and negativity and like nobody's better than me, so you gotta go. So what really pissed me off in tech world was when Steve Jobs' book came out when he was dying, when it was all about Steve 3 or 4 years ago. I literally watched a lot of my tech startup friends start being like a to their staff. Because Jobs was tough, everybody fell into the romance of like, I have this big vision and I'm gonna be a like Steve, right? And I thought that was really interesting for me to watch that half decade of like literally watching people I know and then watching them act differently because the status or the icon of the moment, and you see a lot of that. And so like that is probably the energy I'm trying to bring to this class today, which is you can look at like how people roll and like it's great to admire and things of that nature, but it's so damn important to stick to like your DNA, right? And like what you're good at. And to recognize that you need to surround yourself, whether it's your co-founder or whether it's the people that work for you. Like all I do is hire the people that are the opposite of me, that bring the other value, that bring me the ability to remember what the that meeting was about and go make sure it happens. You know, like whatever it may be, right? And so I think that's another thing that I would highly recognize. People come up to me and say, Gary, it's so hard. I look at their Instagram and they're not posting any of their content with hashtags, which is a by accident way to pick up exposure in a world where they have no money. When you have no money, when I took over my dad's business, it did $3 million a year, 10% gross profit, $300,000 before expenses. My first year marketing budget was $14,000. When you have no money, and I built that business from a $3 to a $60 million business in 5 years, I had to make every penny perfect. So I was right about email marketing in '96, and I was right, and because of that, I had 91% open rates. When Google AdWords came out, the day it came out, I paid 5 cents a click for words before anybody bid me up, and I was super right, and that worked.
How much is that luck versus preparation, and do you ever get anything wrong? What do you do when you make a mistake?
I get everything wrong. It's just that I can't recall it because once it's wrong, I'm moving on to the next thing. Like dwelling on what you f***ed up on is the quickest way for the next thing not to work. Right?
Yeah.
So I think I do everything. I mean, you know this. This is a fun thing to say. Some people in the back know this. I was a breakout YouTube star in the first year, 2006. I decided that the right strategy was to leave YouTube completely and go to Vidler because Vidler offered me equity in their company, and I've left an enormous amount of attention. I deviated from my intention thesis to do short-term economics and equity in a company, and I lost. When D-Rock finally came in my life 2 years ago and we started to try to build up my YouTube for the first time, I was sitting on 40,000 followers in a world where I could have had millions if I just stayed the course. So I make mistakes all the time. I'm reorging VaynerMedia every day because it's based on a mistake I made the prior year. I just don't give a f about my mistakes. Everybody else cares about your mistakes. If you're worried about your own mistakes, you've already lost. You need to care about everything, and it starts with yourself. Look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, what do I want to do every day for the rest of my life? Do that. I promise you can monetize that shit. If you love Alf, do an Alf blog. You collect Smurfs, Smurf it up. Whatever you need to do it. So many people are talking about, I can't monetize. There's a billion 70-year-old douchebags that are in control right now. But the number 2 person, that 34-year-old lady, she's gonna buy your shit. She's gonna put the advertising on your stuff. It's coming. Stop crying and just keep hustling. Problem is, if you have the greatest hammer and the greatest screwdriver and the greatest wrench, the greatest, in front of you, if you don't use them properly, you will lose.
Right.
If there's a nail that I have to put in that ground, but I take the wrench and I hit it when the hammer was right there, it still comes down to the practitioner. And you have to be good at your craft, and you have to love if you don't love sales, if you don't love it, you have no chance. Because it's so hard, it's so painful, there's so much rejection.
Right.
So those are the things I think about.
So technology is clearly an enabler, as you've just said there, though.
Yes.
The person is equally important.
More important.
Right, and going back to
I just apologize for jumping in, but let me make it perfectly straight. If I go play Roger Federer right now in tennis, and I have the greatest tennis racket ever made, like taken from the Mars's new resources, and he took a John McEnroe 1974 tennis racket, he would whip my ass. I'm crushing salespeople that have every Salesforce, every one of your competitors, 37 features, upgraded, went to every pro conference, watching this. I will beat their ass in sales every day of the week. Pure talent. The way I do branding, I sell so infrequently that I think some of you that are watching me the hardest core need to hear this, which is it's okay to sell, especially if you believe in something. If you believe in what you're selling, and that's what I'm spending a lot of time on now, trying to spend more time on really getting to a place where I really believe in stuff. Instead, I was just passive, not creating. So I wasn't selling because I didn't believe, and just letting everything come to me. But as I create these, events, Vayner Experience, a lot of events, very big on events. Events are so valuable. Just watching the 4Ds crew, its value and how it's impacting their business for $10,000 right there. I mean, I know you're getting emails. The wine club. $150 worth of wine for 55 bucks. I've just locked in November's. It's gonna make all your Thanksgivings ridiculous. The conference, $500 2-hour session in my stomping grounds. Good deal compared to other conferences that I speak at. But you're getting the wine for free, or you're getting the talk for free and you're getting the wine. So I'm very fascinated because I'm putting more pressure on myself to create things that I really believe in, which then allows me to sell more. And I just think for a lot of you, selling, the ask, the right hook is very difficult. You're passive. You like the idea of feeling good about giving out content, this and that. When you believe in something, you can sell it, and you should put more pressure on yourself to create things that you believe in. Biggest problem is so many of you sell shit you don't believe in. You're just doing it for the money. You're gonna lose. And that I don't like.
Sometimes a lot of people may try a new initiative and then they don't get an immediate reaction and they think it's a failure.
That's right.
I want to go back to your YouTube videos with the wine library. You had so much content out there. How did you stick in there? How did you keep yourself motivated?
Because I believe in my strategies and I'm patient as like all great stuff, especially when you're innovating, doesn't happen right away. This notion that like, oh Gary, I tried it, I spent $500 on Facebook ads, it doesn't work. Well, what if your video sucked? What if your product and service sucks? I tend to do things that are very early. That has been my career. When I do things, I believe in them. I stick with them based on intuition. Even though for 18 months nobody watched my wine videos at all, I knew it was right, I was right. There's been things I've done that I've jumped off of very quickly. I started a Gary V app, VChat, V-E-E, like WeChat, I thought it was funny, for my fans, great CRM one-on-one. Didn't feel right after a week or two, spent plenty of money building it, stopped it after, a couple months. Wine Library TV, 5 years, every day, YouTube. Decided to change it to Daily Grape, insular app. You could buy stuff, subscription for reviews. It was a lot of fun. Only did it for 5 months, stopped it because it didn't feel right anymore. Okay. It's always hard to know when to jump off something new. But I find that people don't believe in what they're doing. They hear a guru and they do it begrudgingly because their boss wants them to, or they're like, well, Gary's right a lot, so let me do it, but they don't believe it. And so then they're looking for no's instead of yeses. Everything I do, every business development, every event I do, every time I try a new marketing tactic or sales tactic, I'm looking for the yes.
Right.
I'm looking for the yes, and if the no punches me, well then I'm like, crap, the no punched me. I believe the majority of people when they try new tactics are looking for the no, and you're gonna getting a lot of subtle no's immediately.
Right.
And so I think that's why that happens. If I can suffocate all of you today to take 25% of your take-home income this year and pour it back into 2 people who do video and written word and put it into Facebook and Instagram ads, literally all of you will email me 24 months. Actually, f it. If you can start right away, literally 25% of you are going to come to me this time next year, right here, and be like, holy shit, I've been listening to your stuff for 7 years. Your keynote was different in Miami last year at this time. I listened, I said, f it, I don't need to go to Ibiza 3 times this year, f it. I don't need to buy a better BMW this year to make me feel good with the neighbors, f it. I don't need another pair of Supremes or Yeezys. I took the money and I put it into Karen, the film woman, and Rick, the ad guy, and now my business is 2x. This will 100% work. Even if you suck on camera, have zero charisma, are only 8 days in the industry, this will work because it is such underpriced attention that the ROI will work. That if you're a 2 in skill, the ads are a 20 in the 10-point scale, and it closes the delta of you being average. If you literally, and I've said this for 7 years, if you literally go interview the guy who owns the gym in town, the guy who owns the pizza shop, the woman that owns the insurance brokerage, if you literally just interview your local community, that you become the local newspaper in 3-minute video form on your phone, you don't even need to hire D-Rock or Babin or Iris, your phone. If you literally take it, selfie it, and interview the principal of the school in your neighborhood, you will become the local celebrity who can then transact on whatever you're trying to sell that group. If you bring value to people, if you interview the best high school basketball player, literally just that, your business will change. Or if you literally just give the advice of how you got here, what you learned, if you shared your thoughts, if you do not understand that you were a media company, that you will not be as successful as you are today in a decade. And that's not interesting when the alternative is you're 4 to 7 times bigger. The stake, guys, you have to understand what happened to Blockbuster and Netflix, what happened with Uber and taxi companies, what happened with hotels versus Airbnb is happening with you as a human in your business. And so when you have the best hand and you know it because you've been paying attention and you know how to play poker, you go all in. Everybody here is playing Facebook, Instagram, social media, YouTube, podcasting, like they have the best hand and they're calling. And you're not goading them into getting all the money. You're just folding. And that's this audience. So can you imagine what I feel is going on outside this stadium? So this is a call to action for everybody to do me one favor, and I do think I can get a lot of you to do it, which excites the shit out of me. Please, right now, listen, maybe you've laid out money, maybe you're in the middle of a renovation, maybe you're paying for your kids' college, mazel tov, I know there's nuances on everybody's life. But if you are in a position where literally your take-home income this year is literally the stuff you're gonna go and do things with, please, from 25% to 90% if you can go humble, please take that money and hire 2 people to make a lot more content for you about you and your business. And please give the rest of the money to Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. And I fundamentally promise you, you will walk here to this conference next year and personally thank me emotionally because your business will change. And I know not one of you has gone all in. I think the biggest obstacle to success is a lack of optimism. That question in itself is the problem, my friend, right? You're looking at 2 things that are both negatives, and guess what? Both of them are obstacles. When I started WineLibrary.com transformation from my business, I had time. I worked my face off every minute, but we didn't have a whole lot of money in our profit center, so it took more time, right? It's just the way it is. Today, I have more money, but boy, don't I have time. But neither, ever will be an excuse for me. And so, just to drill this through the throat of the Vayner Nation, that's right, I went that graphic. Don't smile, D-Rock. Here's the bottom line. I refuse to allow you to get an answer to that question because both of them are firmly square in the excuse column, and I have no patience for that. There will always be problems. Let's talk about a million other things that are a way to stop success. The health and well-being of your family members, so it takes your mind away from execution. The country you live in's government and political, concepts at these moments, a la startups in China that I've invested in that got traction, but then people that were wired into the government decided to not allow it to happen, and then the startup disappeared. Not as easy to be an entrepreneur there. It's still a communist country. Sorry, it just is. And so all these things can be problems, right? There's a competitor with $1 billion who's also skilled and punches you in the mouth and knocks you out in the first round, right? The world changing. I mean, there's just a million obstacles, right? The media, one bad coverage of you, a moment in time. You know what I think about a lot? Let's get really real. This is why we did this show. I'm a human being. And I always think about a moment in time. What if I just say the wrong thing at the wrong time, right? What if I call out China for being a communist country in an episode while I'm on a rant and somebody who's watching doesn't like the way that tastes and it takes away a business opportunity for me in China in 7 years, even though I'm not trying to zing, it's just things that I saw. What if I look down on my phone while I'm driving, even though I've really not done that, and I hit somebody and I kill them, and that becomes the story. And they're like, forget about the story about what you think of me. I will never recover from that because I killed somebody because I needed to check a tweet. These are moments in time. So there are so many things that can keep you from being successful, right? The people that you invested in, having something bad happen to them, so it slows you down. My friends, there are a million reasons why not, but there's one great reason why, which is you've just got to persevere, no matter what it is. It's just the way it is. It's hard being an entrepreneur. It's hard building a business. Everybody thinks it's so easy, that there's an entitlement. There's a disaster. Zinging China, here comes my US zing right now. There is an insane generation of 18 to 25-year-olds right now that think they're entitled to having a business because they saw the Social Network movie and everybody's decided if you're a kid and you know what tech is, because you used Instagram early on, you're entitled to actually build a business. Building a business is hard. And you know what makes it really hard? Everything that happens every day of every moment. So, you can pick time, you can pick money as the 1 or 2 things that you think stop you from winning your game, but the truth is, there's a million reasons. 99% of businesses go out of business for a reason, and that reason is, it's hard. And so, if you're watching this show, I've got a sense of who you are, and you need to start creating layers and layers and layers and layers of skin to be able to get through, because the glamour of being an entrepreneur, The goodness. You know, you get very confused by my optimism because it's my optimism. I can't help it. It's just how I roll. It's probably one of the variable 1% reasons why I'm successful. But please, don't get it twisted. This is hard. Every day is hard. And if you don't have the stomach to weather the storm, you will not be successful. And by the way, let me throw you a real weird curveball, and that's okay. People have to look themselves in the mirror and understand if they're a number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in an organization that has differences of being a number 1, but maybe that's where your skill set sits. Maybe that's how you make your fortunes and happiness and all the things that you're looking for. And so that question got me going a little bit, Steve, because it's under the context of excuses, and I will never make an excuse. Everything that's a problem with me, everything I don't achieve, everything that's a problem at VaynerMedia, and everything is my fault. And I succumb to that, and I respect that, and I actually think that's the way it should be. And so, no excuses, my friends. Everything that I think is not the single most important things in the world, and then I micromanage the things that I think are the most important things in the world. Luckily for me, hence why I've been able to build big companies, I don't think most things matter. So I don't think I'm any different than anybody else. I actually think everybody is a delegator and a micromanager. I just think that my radar of what's important is different. Yes, we need to do something with that. That's the guys, that's it right there. I'm just like you, we're all the same. We all delegate, we all micromanage. The difference is, I don't think most things matter. And what do I mean by that? As I'm trying to think about somebody watching this for the first time, instead of alluding to like people that have watched forever. Most things don't matter. like I don't know, like just, I don't know, that's what it means. Like, you know, like if I was like, I don't know, I don't think lighting matters as much as D-Rock. Like, I just don't think things matter. Like, I don't think like one client that's gonna put us out of it, like, I don't think one employee is gonna kill our atmosphere. I don't think a lot of things matter. I don't think like a misspelling in a deck is something that really matters to a lot of people in my company. It just doesn't matter to me. I just don't think so. Guys, I don't think we're gonna lose a count because we put the I before the E. And if we do, fuck them. Idiots. I don't think not wearing shoes in an establishment is, you know, the biggest thing in the world. Clearly, if you've watched Daily V1, some people do. And guess what? I do not judge. Do not judge. Everybody's allowed to do their thing. It's just like parenting. I will never spew my parenting. I talk about it, but it's very holistic. Like, this is what I do, not what I'm telling you to do. This is me, but like, so ultimately, I think that I'm both. Like everybody in the world, I just think that I deem what's most important at a very, very high level on things that most people, you know what? A lot of you are commenting about my 5-minute meetings. Most of you, because you're part of my community, think it's great. A lot of comments on YouTube and Facebook of like, oh, I like Daily V because Gary spends 5, that's nice. One comment, I work in a small, and by the way, whoever said this is gonna see this and be like, holy crap, he reads everything. I've worked at small companies where the boss didn't even know my name, you know what I mean? Like, this is cool, but do you know how many people think it's stupid? I have a lot of people in my life that think that I'm very busy and I have a lot of things to do, and why in the world, Gary, it's not scalable, it's not sustainable. Yeah, you're making that face because you're so in our cocoon, but like, boy, just like, you know? Like, they're like, don't do that. It's not bad. Nobody expects you to do it, not at this scale. And you have a great culture and you have great intent, just do that. I'm like, nope, this thing matters to me. So I'm micromanaging a hello into my company 3 to 6 months in, that a lot of people outsource to an HR person or to the leadership. So I do unscalable things all the time, micromanaging if I deem them the most important. Pitching new business. I like to micromanage that because it's important to win business. Like, money helps me keep doing everything.